Okay, well, I'm gonna call a meeting to order. I can do that. We've got. But we're gonna need to do a roll call.
Yes.
Because we do not have a full 5 individuals tonight, so I'll start to Josh Fay
Present.
and Liz Cobbs.
Oh, she's there.
She was. Oh, there she is, yeah. You're muted, Liz, if you need to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, here present on Zoom.
Okay, and Bill Marachek, present. So we have a quorum for this evening's meeting, which is Tuesday, December 10th, 2024. The first item is the approval of minutes. And we're gonna start with October 9th,
Which I believe is the only set we have at this point.
which I think is.
And they were sent separately, right? They're not in the
Yeah.
packet, yeah.
But they are part of the new packet if you're pulling up the packet online.
Okay.
All right, so any comments, any edits, any of the minutes to this meeting? Who actually did these? Is this
Kate Ryan.
Kate
did.
Ryan.
Yeah,
I mean, these are fantastic.
yeah.
Those municipal employees, you know, how to do our minutes.
It's really, no, she's always good at doing minutes, so I don't want to suggest that this is any exception. Okay.
I will move that we approve the minutes of October 9th,
All right, 2024.
2024, as submitted.
Okay, thank you. And a second?
This is Liz. I second the minutes.
Okay, so all in favor, Liz Cobbs,
I,
Josh Fay?
Yes.
And Bill Marachek, yes. All right, and then the minutes of November 13th.
Those will have to push to next time because we don't yet have
Next time,
those.
right. But I think we're pretty current, aren't we? with,
Yes, that's the only one that we
yeah.
are missing at this point.
I'll send everyone a sticker for being able to keep us.
1 month behind is pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, the Assistant Town Manager, Interim Human Resources Director's report.
Yep, so a couple things I wanna go through. So there is the latest report in your packet for the regular status hires and terms. It has come to my attention from a couple of different folks that there might be some discrepancies with this report. And there's a couple of different moving parts with it. Part of it is that this is pulled from ADP, which does not currently track our vacancies. So I think that's part of why sometimes the numbers, for those that are digging deep into this information, aren't necessarily jiving. And then the other piece is that this report also isn't tied to the budget and the general ledger in terms of where positions are funded and where they're assigned in terms of where they're out of. I know there's been some questions around, you know, town manager's office, staffing in particular, even like my role, it's under human resources, but I'm town manager. So the good thing is in the next couple of months, once we're fully on board with Munis, which that rollout date, by the way, has now been pushed to April 1st. We'll be able to get a lot more specific, accurate reports. We'll be able to track vacancies. We'll be using position control, and every single individual employee profile is tagged to a organ object or a budget line item. So the reporting will get better, but I just know that there's been some questions that have come to me personally as well as others in town. And I don't know if any folks listening or any of the board members have just kind of heard like, how come this looks like we hired more than we should have? And it's not a perfect report, we've come to realize. So we are gonna be fine tuning that, like I said, when we move forward. And part of me is contemplating whether we want to even continue to put this report in the packet, but you've been getting it and it is pretty close to accurate, but it's not as specific and detailed in terms of marrying up everything because we're using literally 2 and 3 different sources of information. So that's simply what I just wanted to share on that. And I don't know if the board members have heard any questions or chatter on that, but I just wanted to put that out there, and I had a good conversation with somebody today. We went through a lot of items on it, so. That's where that is. Are there any questions or concerns there?
You know, we can just take a moment here and just make certain that the three of us, are on the same page, I mean, in terms of should we continue with the dashboard that we have had, which is pretty close to correct, or should we defer until later? That is after the Munis implementation, which now isn't until April. So
Yes.
my preference is let's just keep going with what we
Okay,
have. It gives us at least some baseline.
some guideline.
Yeah.
And
But just in case you're hearing comments in the public by nature of your role here, I just wanted people to kind of understand that. And another piece too, that actually nobody has brought up, but this also includes positions, for example, that are funded through enterprise revolving accounts as well, which again, is not a direct link to the actual general fund budget, but actually nobody's brought that up, but I figured I would just mention that. Cause I do see there's at least one person from finance on here who might pick that up.
okay.
But yeah, so it's pretty close, but yeah, because it's multiple systems and we don't have some of those usual mechanisms in place, like position control and formal tracking of vacancies. That's why, so, and it's just been
Okay.
something, like I said, we've been getting messages on, so I just wanted to make sure that the board was aware and the record that be, so.
Okay.
Any other questions on that? Like Liz, anybody on that?
Can the implementation of Munis is slipped a little.
Yes,
And
so.
can you just describe what have been the hurdles that you had to?
Sure, some of there was kind of probably two primary hurdles. We've had a little bit of turnover in the finance department, but I think the primary driver is that there was some backlog on behalf of Munis, one of their consultants. We had some missed sessions due to their consultant not being able to work with us, so that got us off a little bit. Plus, I think the general consensus is for something massive like a software payroll conversion, like we want to do it once and do it right. We don't want to rush it and then find that something didn't implement incorrectly, because then it will send the whole train off the rails. So the finance and HR teams met and spoke about that and all agreed that it's better just to go an extra 3 months to make sure we get it rolled out.
Is there any negative financial implications to the town with more hours on Munis's part, or?
No,
are we neutral?
not that I'm aware of, and I don't know if Anthony, I see him on here, but I don't know if he's paying attention yet, because we're not on his item, but I don't think it's gonna be a significant financial hit. Just the delay with Munis, Anthony, that's not gonna cause any additional costs to the town, right? Other than it just
No, it's all,
pushes out some of our
yeah, it's
goals.
all included in the contract.
Thank you,
So,
thank you.
Welcome.
yeah, so that's
Okay.
kind of where things are at with that. And then I know that Kimberly, was gonna speak as well as updates, just about some of the training, that she did, I think it was last week now, relative to the new goal setting and evaluation system. She, was able to provide some training to supervisors. So Kimberly, do you wanna give an update on kind of how that week went and what you did?
Yes, thank you, Jess. I was having difficulty with my mute, but how long have we been doing this? And I'm still having challenges. Good evening, everyone. Kimberly Crum, I'm coming to you regarding the Merit Pay and Evaluation Initiative. Since we met last as the Personnel Board, there were some suggestions that were made from the board regarding our evaluation document. And those recommendations were incorporated into the program. We did host on November 21st and 2nd. Erin and I hosted some employee focus groups, and we're delighted to meet with employees and talk through our expectations of what was going to be forthcoming regarding new evaluation system and the Merit Pay Initiative. They were very active sessions, and we appreciated input. There was a recommendation made regarding the evaluation form that we were able to incorporate into the form prior to the presentation that was made to the select board on Monday evening, December 2nd. And that is available online as a video. We spoke to the board regarding the initiative, and we're able to show them an example of the goals that we've been working toward for the SMT members. Specifically, the police goals were included in their package, and that's available online. The presentation was well received, along with the decks for the employee focus group meetings, the supervisory training deck, the select board goals and town manager goals, and the vision statement that has been created by the leadership and management team. That is the basis going forward for our employee initiatives. And so on Monday, the 2nd, and Tuesday, the 3rd, Aaron and I hosted training sessions for supervisors and managers. They were very well attended. In fact, we had 27 in our first group and 18 in our second. We only missed a couple of managers who were unavailable due to vacations, and we've caught up with most all of them at this point. One more to go. The training sessions were 3-hour sessions, and they went over the process for setting of goals, the maintenance of goals, and the interactions between our supervisors and employees from the January inception through June 30. It included the timeline, the forms, and a lot of activity for participants, and they were very active in their discussions and the activities that we had planned. So we were very pleased with the outcome of those. You know, by and large, our employees today, they want to be a part of something bigger. You know, they want to see how their actions, their behaviors, their accomplishments hit the bottom line. And so we're very excited to be able to kick this off with goals for every employee by January 1st, so that they can see how their contributions are supporting and enriching the town through both the select board goals, the town manager goals, and their operational initiatives. And I guess with that, I'll just verify something you already know, that you have an incredibly talented group of employees and a very dedicated group. And so we're very excited to be able on June 30th to look back and see all the accomplishments that have been made toward these goals over the 6-month window.
Kimberly, what was the change made to the evaluation form that came out of the employee sessions, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, the employees, I had created the form, and I thought I was being consistent with forms that the town had used in the past. And the rating score had gone, I believe 1 was the high number and 4 was the low number. And the recommendation was to flip-flop that. And yeah, that was the only recommendation. But it was consistent throughout the groups. And so that told us that it was a good idea.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Any other questions or comments? Liz, I don't know, I don't want to make certain that we recognize that you've got a question. The one question I have is, as you look ahead into, or what kind of a schedule do you have, or do you envision for starting the actual evaluation piece? And when do you think that's going to start? Do you have a date? Do you have a plan in place as to how then, when that's supposed to be completed by? And how do you envision having the employee manager review sessions?
Okay. Thank you for your question, Bill. We did quite a bit of work in the training sessions about the check-in type of discussion that needs to take place. Obviously, if we set goals for January 1st, we don't want to look up on June 30th and then decide whether goals have been hit or not. We want to have an interim meeting schedule, whether it be once a week, once every other week, or once a month, checking in with the employee to see how far they've come, if there are any issues that they're having, or any roadblocks that need to be removed, or support that needs to be given by the supervisor or manager. And so we expect that that will continue starting January 1st through June 30. What the recommendation has been thus far is that in order to evaluate the employee so that they can receive their step increase, so long as it's earned, in the first payroll in July, that means that evaluations, the yearly evaluation, needs to be completed by May 31st and turned into human resources. And so that means that it'll be an 11-month evaluation from July 1st of last year through May 31st of 25. That way the employee, it's just a pass-fail. Is the employee eligible for the step increase or not? And our expectation is that those would be on the first check in July. And then for the merit pay initiative, the evaluation of merit pay runs through June 30. So that evaluation is due on the goals, whether they were achieved or not, is due July 31st. And the commitment is, as has been negotiated with some of the unions already, the commitment is that the step payment, or excuse me, the merit payment, the cash incentive would be paid on the first check in September.
Okay, that's, I'm really pleased to hear that you've given some real thought to this whole process, because it's easy to, I think, easier to think, but should we do in the next month? It's a little bit more difficult to look several months in advance, but this is the time we have to plan. You have to plan, otherwise it won't get done.
Yes. Yeah, you're welcome.
That's very positive.
So, and to continue with this, because Bill, that's the same line of questioning I was thinking about. For this year specifically, the merit assessment will go from January through the end of June. There'll be conversations with each individual through the month of July, and the final reports due in, I'm sorry. No, I messed that up, right? Because you said June 30th to wrap up on the merit payment. So, but it's due on July 1st. So they have to be working with their employees and having those last discussions.
It's actually, the merit assessment is due by July 31st. So the goals run through June 30, and the supervisors and managers have 1 month to assess the goal achievement and turn that into the HR office.
Okay.
And the commitment is that we would pay that on or before the first check in September.
So Kimberly, my experience has been that period of time, right? That month is really busy. So there are lots of different ways to put those reports together. And here's one scenario where from the end of June 30th through July 31st, each manager is writing up reports. And in my experience, then you would meet with other managers and have questions from other managers about your assessment of your individual employees. So there was some continuity across. And, there's always some opportunity, and, in the future, we can continue to make those opportunities where subordinates in one department can be identified as someone that's other department chairs or leaders, managers want to get to know, so that they can give some input on the merit part. And how is that, was that part of the training that you did, like how to handle, and would there be a cross-department discussions about the merit pay recommendations?
We didn't speak about that specifically, Liz, but I would point out that on our goal tracker sheet, 2 of the things that we did to try and link individuals and departments across the town, we recognized immediately that none of us can accomplish many things all by ourselves. You know, it takes a village, right? And so many of the goals, if you look at the select board goals or the town manager goals, many of them require not just one department, but they require some linkages between departments. And so on our goal tracker sheet, there is actually a column for who within your own department contributes to this goal, and then a separate column for who in other departments contributes to this goal. And so I would envision that as we're assessing goal achievement, those linkages are going to become very important. And I would imagine that there will be plenty of conversation about achievement around the goal, because there will be multiple people from various departments on many, many of these goals.
So then, there's not yet a structure. I mean, this is the first year, I understand that, but you know, during that very busy month, it's probably important to identify and set times for those cross-department meetings, especially if they're sharing goals, so that, you know, you don't have, you know, different assessments from one department to the other, right?
I understand. I appreciate your recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
I think, just for me to add just a moment here, I think in my experience, it is extremely difficult to get 100% of the reviews done on time by a certain date. So I don't know if there's a magic bullet that allows that particular fact to, in this case, be irrelevant, because everybody will be reviewed, the paperwork will be done. I just encourage some, again, thinking ahead as to how are we gonna make certain that there's not going to be somebody that's missed for whatever reason. All right, any other comment? You know, Kimberly, I'd like you to just maybe briefly talk about and review the meeting you had with the select board on December 2nd. And what the purpose of that meeting was, and what you think was what was accomplished.
Okay, I was invited to attend the select board meeting. That was their regular Monday night meeting. And we're scheduled to make a presentation on the Merit Pay Initiative. And so we elected to provide all of the information up front. That included the select board goals, of course, that they're very well aware of, that we had used in our focus groups with employees, some of whom had seen those goals before and some of whom had not. Also the town manager goals, likewise. The vision statement, which had been created at the leadership and management team meeting a number of months ago. We included the evaluation forms that you saw at the last meeting and gave input on. We included the employee focus group deck that we had used with all of the slides that had been reviewed with employees, and the manager and supervisor training deck, that PowerPoint presentation that had been provided, that would be provided Monday afternoon prior to the select board meeting and Tuesday morning after it. And so with all that information, it appeared during the meeting that the select board members had reviewed that information and, had comment on it. I walked them through the various pieces of the information so that they could see the initiative kind of from scoop to nuts, including, I believe, the timeline as well. So my perception was that they were very excited about seeing their goals linked to employee performance. And I got both in the meeting and after the meeting positive comments. So I was delighted to make that connection. I think we're all going to be we're going to see a difference on June 30th when we look back and see 6 months where our goals are aligned and people are pulling in the same direction. not to say that employees haven't had goals before, because I'm certain that they have, but I don't know that they've ever been connected this closely with the select board goals and the town manager goals and cascaded throughout the organization. So I'm very excited to see that happen. And I hope that's helpful, Bill, with your question.
Oh, no, thank you very much. Mark Howell had sent to Liz and myself the presentation. And so we've had the chance to take a look at pages 166 to 198 or something like. There was a tremendous amount of material that was certainly well done and speaks very highly of you and the HR team to have put this together in the way. So, you know, your value has just been exceptional. And working with the other members of the HR team to really move the town's HR organization ahead tremendously. So,
Wow.
you know, I think we as a personnel board just need to recognize that and make certain that members of the select board and so forth are, you know, fully knowledgeable that there are a lot of really good things that are taking place. Doesn't mean that we can't do more, but it does mean that we're making progress. And I hope that as we get through this particular first year, that we actually, maybe you actually consider making or having some listening sessions or focus groups just to sort of say, well, you're all through this, and, you know, what do you think? You know, what can we do better?
What can we, yep, what can we improve upon?
Yeah, I mean, those are thinking about that now and sort of planning for that now. You know, has some real value, has some benefit. So
Well,
thank you.
Thank you for your kind comments. I appreciate them, but I will tell you, obviously, this is a reflection on the entire human resources team and also a very collaborative effort with leadership within the town and throughout, you know, making sure that our employees have a voice in this as well as our supervisors and managers. Folks have taken an active part and that's why you see, you know, a comprehensive package. It's
Right.
because of the interaction and the input from each level. So thank you.
All right, Liz,
Mark,
John?
has his hand up.
Oh, yes, please, Mark, sorry.
So thanks for the opportunity to just ask a question here. One of the select board's real interests in this, of course, is how can we align the goals as has been referred to earlier in this conversation. And particularly we're interested in what we can do in terms of our own goal setting schedule with the town manager to work it out so that we're not creating goals in the middle of a year that then don't get integrated into the package. And so I don't need an answer right now, but certainly if you can help us understand what our sort of annual deadline should be for getting our goals in place, that would be very useful for us as a select board to work with going forward as we try to set those policy goals each year. Thank you.
Excellent point. Thank you, Mark. Any other questions, Liz?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. So that with the class and comp program, and Kimberly, that's when we first met you with GovHR and supporting that effort and getting that moving. That was town meeting 2023 that was approved. And then there was a lot of work that went forward to make sure that the whole town and the structure of the non-union regular employees were all coordinated under that new CNC plan. In that time period, we had the benefit of both Jess coming on board, and those changes were significant. So Kimberly, you were running the show there for a bit. And another historical reminder is that with COVID, the merit pay was very difficult to do, and the town decided not to look at the goals that Mark, you just described, you know, so that we didn't have those merit-based, the merit-based system there for several years. So putting all of that back in play, I think is reasonable that we're where we are right now. and that they'll take place by January. And Mark, then by when they are finalized, it should roll right into next summer, having the next round of goals set, clarified, and uniformly distributed across the different departments. And I'm assuming, Kimberly, that that is the right timeframe. Is that what you were expecting as well?
Yes, optimally, there's no sense in setting a goal after July 1st, right? Because we have to, if we want everyone to have a full year to accomplish their goals. So they would need to have their goals for FY26 in hand by July 1st to have the full year.
And the way those roll out generally is that they really have to start at the top, right? So that the town manager and the select board would want to be working on those, or at least, reviewing what went well this year and how that'll move by the beginning of June
Yeah.
at the latest, so that.
There's been, oh, forgive me, Liz, I'm sorry.
no, go
There's
ahead.
been some discussion about how it may be really helpful during the budget cycle. That is a perfect time to be thinking about what's important and what goals the select board and town manager want to set for the coming year. So I appreciated Mark's question, and obviously up to the select board, but it would be optimal to have those in hand prior to the beginning of the fiscal year.
All right, thank you. Any, Liz or
Well,
Josh, any-
yeah, I just for the
Okay.
record, I think what I'm trying to hint at, Mark, is it really has to, it's not necessarily only the HR department that puts that together. They can do some prodding, but it really sits with the select board and the town manager to move that first.
Yeah, just so you know, what's on our minds is we're thinking about the realities of, the new select board tends to get seated right after town meeting, which not this year, but in other years is usually at the end of April. And so you can imagine there's a fairly compressed time period there where the latest iteration of the board is set, and we're of course trying to close out our positioning there. And so there may be some value similar to what's being done with the steps increase for us to recognize that the merit or even the goal setting is going to be slightly offset. Usually as a manager, of course, you have pretty good visibility 11 months into the year of whether a 12-month target is going to be made, especially if these ongoing conversations have been had about progress. And so we may need to do something like that. So we're engaged in that conversation because we really do want it to be helpful, and we don't want it to be, 6 or 9 months offset. So that's important. And to Bill's point, it's also very challenging, and I think some incentives and in fact sometimes even some penalties need to be in place to ensure that the evaluations get the right priorities amongst supervisors and department heads, because we do understand the roll up and roll down kinds of things in there. So we appreciate the conversation, and just knowing what the schedule is a good place for us to start.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
All right, anything else that comes before from the assistant town manager, human resources, Jess? or
No, I think
you're
that
all
is
set?
everything for
Okay,
tonight.
all right.
Thank you.
So we can move on to item number 4 on the agenda, which is the classification action.
Yes, so the first one we have up for you in your packet tonight is the Assistant Chief Financial Officer. So this is a newly created position, but it's utilizing the FTE that was the position known as, I believe, Special Projects Manager. So that position performed many of the same functions. It was a grade 14. That position is now vacant. We took the opportunity to revamp the role. One of the biggest changes was putting procurement more defined and under this role, and it really is serving as the second in charge within the finance division under our CFO, Anthony Ansaldi, who is on the call tonight as well, if there's any additional questions. The rating process was done, and that position came out at a grade 15. And that salary we feel is in line with what we will need to be advertising and are advertising for in terms of getting a qualified individual to fill that very important role.
So just go back, this was what the position was as an FTE, and then how
Yes.
long was it actually vacant?
It's
roughly?
been vacant now for maybe 3-4 weeks. 4
Okay,
weeks,
so a
give or take.
relatively short. period.
Yes, so we wanted to turn this around quickly because it is a much needed role. And again, it was titled Special Projects Manager, but it was essentially functioning as the assistant CFO, but we also, again, beefed it up in making it the assistant CFO, particularly with the procurement piece. We have a lot of procurement. I think if you recall, last month, you voted and approved a new job description for a procurement manager. So in theory, once that position is filled, that function falls under the direction of the assistant CFO.
So can I conclude that Anthony was the driver in terms of this is
Yes.
filling out his organization?
Yes.
Filling out
Yes,
the,
yeah.
necessary resources that he believes is required.
So Anthony, why don't you tell us a bit about the role and where you see how it would support your department? That would be really helpful. Thank you.
Sure. So I think just, outlined it very nicely that the position, it was called the special projects, whatever it was but it was acting as the ACFO. That position is, it kind of replaces what you had as a model, probably a couple of years ago now, where you had a budget manager that just handled the budget and then kind of did some procurement with that. So with that, procurement has become a huge part of our job. And we're doing more and more RFPs and trying to go out and be more competitive and get better pricing and also hopefully saving the town some money. So being able to up this position to the ACFO officially, like I said, it was acting as it, but adding in the procurement part is really going to do that part that, I really hope to see is looking at all our procurements, really combining them in. I'll give you an example. There's probably about 8 different cleaning contracts, and they all come up at different times. And it's really not advantageous to do it separately because we're not getting the biggest bang for our buck. So this position, is going to focus on that in addition to the creation of the budget and monitoring the town's budget.
Well, Anthony, just, do you have, or do you know of an internal candidate, that is likely going to apply for this position or not?
We have no internal candidates to date.
Okay. Liz, do you
Certainly
have-
my goal is always is succession planning in mind. So I like to build that within the team. So, hopefully the goal would be for this person that's coming in to eventually take over for me when that time comes. And, what we don't want to get happen is what's happened in the past. When somebody leaves, we have this big void and we kind of struggle and, need to get some outside help and so forth. So, what I'm trying to build is a structure where we're developing the number 2 to take the number 1 role. And it's key to do that. So, when we look to hire for every position now, we keep that in mind. I want to be able to, getting employees in municipal government is a huge challenge. It's just, people don't, they want to work remote. They want to have more of a quality of life and be able to be home with their family at night. And it just doesn't interest a lot of people. So, the biggest thing that we can do is kind of groom from within and get our next leaders from right within the organization. And that's what I'm doing here in finance.
Well, thank you for saying that, because I think we on the personnel board have, certainly believe exactly that it's important to develop and to to have opportunities for the people you have to move ahead, because quite honestly, seems to me some of the termination in town has been simply that people get frustrated that they can't move on, and so they gotta go someplace else. I mean, that's whether a municipality or private industry or
Right.
whatever. So anyway,
Yep.
nice to hear your support for that. Okay, so,
Let me keep going down the list, and then you'll vote all four at once. Is
Yeah.
that- Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
fine, yeah.
So moving
Sorry,
on.
one last question for Anthony while we have you. Where are you seeking employees or candidates? Are there specific places, or is there any support that you can imagine the personnel board with our contacts and so forth could help you to find someone?
Yeah, thanks, Liz. So what we did is we advertised in the MMA, which is the Mass Municipal Association. And then we also advertise in the various professional organizations like the Mass GFOA, we Mass Accountants and Auditors Association. So we're trying to draw people with municipal experience. We also did have it on, correct me if I'm wrong, did we have it on Indeed, Jess? I don't remember. I thought
I
we,
think it might have ended up on Indeed.
Yeah.
Or whatever what's the other one, Indeed, and,
yeah, I know.
and we've been dabbling with LinkedIn Recruiter too, which of course
LinkedIn,
we all
right.
have LinkedIn's and we all know people in the business, so.
Liz, thanks, Jess. Liz, preferably, having somebody with municipal experience is key. And I think that we've touched all the areas where those looking to advance their careers in municipal government, that's where they go to those websites. And we canvass that pretty well and we're getting a good amount of candidates that have put in for it and ones that have the municipal experience, which we're looking for. This is not, one of those positions where, it's a learning position. You really need somebody to jump right in.
Yeah.
And be of an assistance to me. Because right now, we're in budget time and, 12-hour days are the norms and Saturdays are becoming the norms. And, that's tough to sustain for a long period of time.
Yeah.
all
Okay,
right,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So the next one on the list is election and census manager. So this is going to be a new position for the clerk's office. But again, this is not going to be a position that's going to increase FTE. The goal is to essentially move some folks around that are already employed with the town clerk's office, both to fill some work that is needed, as well as utilize the talents of some of the folks we have in the clerk's office to give them opportunity to take on more. Elections, as you all know, have become a huge thing now. They're almost year round if you speak with the town clerk, and she's also on this evening as well for questions. But between mail-in voting, early voting, it's constant, and there's a lot more regulations and things to have to oversee and be on top of. So more and more municipalities are creating this position of an elections manager. This one's actually elections and census because it's going to handle the January census as well. So this position is proposed to come out at a grade 8, which is also in the same pay grade as the assistant town clerk. And again, Kari Tari is on as well, and this also technically falls under Anthony as well, because town clerk falls under finance, but certainly town clerk Tari is here if anybody has any specific questions for her on this new proposed position.
so who in the organization has been doing this?
It's kind of been divided up amongst everybody there, but it's a big job and it really needs somebody more dedicated. And it's a proposed shuffling of all kinds of duties. If you see later on our agenda, we've updated some of the other 2 job descriptions, namely the assistant town clerk and senior administrative specialist in town clerk. So it's kind of been moving around duties amongst those 3 positions to come out with this new framework. So that's how that came to be.
But when I saw this, it's amazing to me, maybe it shouldn't be, but we have 17,000 people in town roughly. And there are a lot of towns that are bigger than we are. But I was amazed to see that the job for an election And census is a full-time, 40-hour-a-week position.
So it will cover other work, and again, I can let Kari speak a little bit more of this too, I see she's here, but it will also pitch in and still cover with some of the other clerk office duties, you know, everybody helps cover the window, everybody pitches in on, you know, if something else is needed within the office, but those key periods, I mean, there's a lot involved, and again, I'm gonna let Kari chime in a little bit more
Right.
as the expert on this topic. Hi, Kari.
Hello, thank you so much for the opportunity. So in 2022, the Votes Act was passed by the state legislature, which did two things that really increased the volume of our work. One was vote by mail for all elections. So rather than being an event, it's now a process that starts for local elections roughly 21 days before the election, with mailing out ballots, you know, getting information out to the public about the election and about the application process, mailing out ballots, processing them, and then also election day activities. Added to that, we have automatic voter registration. So anyone going to the Registry of Motor Vehicles to apply for their driver's license or renew it is automatically registered to vote, even if they're already a voter. So we have a queue, a daily queue that needs to get processed. Some of those people are already voters in the system. So there's a back and forth. Sometimes it's communication with the voter, because there may be changes, especially with real ID. So it's the volume of work has increased. And then people who are registering vehicles are given the option to register to vote. And what often happens is someone will be moved from one community to another because they registered their car in another community. So again, and this is happening throughout the year. This is not just tied to the elections. Our elections, our voter and census database are a shared database that is accessed through a state system. So the census and elections working together under one position makes a lot of sense for us.
Thank
this
you. That's
position-
very helpful.
Sorry, and this position will also be managing business certificates. And so this is an annual thing, business certificates for sole proprietors who are doing business in a name other than their own. We have a lot of them. The certificate is valid for 4 years, at which time it has to be renewed. We can reach out more to businesses in town, work more closely with the assessor's office, and increase potentially some revenues that way. So there are a lot of efficiencies that we're trying to realize in the office, and reorganizing these roles is a way of approaching that.
Liz, any questions? The only one I have, I guess.
You are muted, Liz,
Oh.
are you good? You're still
Yes, I'm
muted,
muted.
Liz.
Bill, you go first, I'll follow.
Okay. I've always, in the course of my career, when we had the opportunity to cross-train, we took that opportunity. Because one does not want to have a situation whereby somebody leaves and lo and behold, sort of everything almost comes to a stop, or it's very inefficient. And I see that there are other grade 8 positions that are there. My question is, to what extent, if any, have you given any thought to cross-training in your organization?
We have a lot of cross-training. We can't afford to have the single point of failure in our office because the work has to get done, whether it's vital records, it's running an election. It doesn't matter who in the office is doing it, it has to get done. The law requires it, and so we focus a lot on cross-training.
Thank you. I think it's really important to, for you
Agreed.
to be able to let us know that this is the normal course of affairs. So that's
Yes.
It's critical.
So my questions were, oh, did we lose Anthony?
Yes, like he
We
dropped
did,
off,
okay.
but
So
I
I
can always
assume that
talk to him when
he,
we're
as
back.
your, you report into him, Kari, and I assume that
Yes.
he's fully supportive of this, as
Yes.
your supervisor. Yeah,
Yes, he is.
okay, I was gonna get him to confirm that, but that I trust
Oh.
your
Yes,
word on
it's
that.
in an email too when
We
you
have-
need it.
Yes, he did send an email.
And then I see that Carlin Reed is on. I know she's very active for the league in the town to support the elections. And Carlin, if you don't mind giving a comment about how things went this year and your recommendation too on this position.
Thank you, Liz. Carlin Reed, 83 Woods End. I'm a member of the Finance Committee, speaking on my behalf, and I'm also a poll worker. I've had the pleasure of working with Kari and her team for quite some time. They are a very effective group, and they also do cover for each other, and they are a very well integrated team. They have an excellent respect for each other, and I also know that these positions, I can see what's happening. It makes a lot of sense, so I support this approach. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very, very nice, Carmen. Thank you. Thank you for your input. Liz, did you have anything else?
No, that's
Okay.
all very helpful information. Thank you all.
Let's move to the next one.
Just one proposed edit. I just see that for the sake of consistency, you probably should add the notary credential under the education experience and special requirements. I
Thank
see
you.
it in other positions that expect notary services, so I would insert that just to make sure it's
That's a
covered.
good catch, thank you.
Absolutely.
Definitely want that in there. Plus, I think
Thanks,
everybody
Josh.
there is a notary as well, so that's a good catch.
Okay, yes.
All right, Erin, you wanna take it away with the recreations operations manager, and I know, if we need her, Lee Jackson, recreation director, is also on.
Yes, so this is a new position where this role would be overseeing the operations, the maintenance, and the safety of our recreation facilities. They would be working to ensure that these facilities are well maintained, meet the safety requirements, the building code requirements, but also providing high quality experiences for the community. I think the biggest and most important piece of this job description specifically is that they are essential in managing and overseeing the large projects that maintain and improve the facilities, but ensuring that they are still delivering long-term value and efficiency and, of course, safety. So the role involves a lot of coordination with contractors, managing budgets, ensuring compliance with procurement procedures and the regulatory standards. So currently we have a recreation facilities coordinator, but given the scope of this work, as kind of mentioned above, we felt that these additional duties needed to be picked up, and this position was kind of the logical way to get that done. Oh, and it came out as a grade 8.
And this is another situation where we have somebody that's pretty much been doing the work, but now will be appropriately compensated and will be able to do a little bit more and do more for the effort. We've got a lot of work at BD, which Jenny Sicardo is also here tonight, and she can, certainly answer any questions on that. But there's definitely, that building is 20 years old now. So, we're starting to get to that point where there's a lot of, building facility needs and things. And where that's a separate enterprise funded building, we can get some assistance and input from facilities department, but having somebody, that's in this role that can really help with that, doing purchasing and procurement is huge. And then there's also a chunk that's been added to help with overseeing work at Hunt Recreation as well. For example, we're hopefully going to be getting some work done on the Emerson pool this summer. There's some issues with a leak and the deck, so this is yet another project that this ops manager will be able to help oversee. So again, Jenny is on Zoom, and
Jenny is here.
Jenny is here and Lee is on Zoom. Thank you. I'm always calling everybody the wrong name. If you have any additional questions on that.
Is there someone at the BD Center that monitors the financial situation in regards to whatever budget has
Yes,
been established, but it's because it's an enterprise
it's
operation
fully self-sustaining. It does not get any general fund money.
that, so I understand that, but who? The BD fund must have a budget. Somebody
Yes,
must have prepared the budget.
Yep, Jenny and Lee together oversee that with, me up here, but these two definitely have the handle on the day-to-day, the expenditures, the ins, the outs, fees, cost recovery for programs, so. I'll let you, if you have any direct questions for Jenny, she can certainly answer them.
Well, the question I guess I have for Jenny is, because it's an enterprise fund, aren't all of your funds derived from membership? So if the membership goes up, that's a great situation, but if the membership stays the same, you're gonna have to think, and if the membership is projected to go down, that can be a problem, right?
Yeah, so it's membership, it's programs, you don't have to be a member to come and take a program at BE,
Oh,
so
okay.
we have day passes. So there's a variety of ways that we can increase
Rentals, too.
our revenue. Rentals is a big part of that, we do rent out the pool on a daily basis. So, yes, membership can decline, membership can grow, but there are other outlets that we do produce revenue.
So if you had to assign a percentage, is membership 70% or higher or lower?
Membership, so membership is about over 1 million, it's close to 1.4 million of a $2.5 million budget, yes.
Okay,
And then our aquatic revenue would be the second highest source of revenue.
and you actually receive funds from schools or from, trying to think, was it some other school district?
There's a
Uses
school
the-
that uses the pool.
So that's a rental, so we do have, like Lexington High School
Okay.
rents the pool, we have a lot of other, bad diving, Boston area diving,
Okay.
and we have a synchronized swimming group, on a daily basis, we have different groups that come in, competitive swim teams.
So do you have an accounting person that's on your staff, or who actually keeps track of all this?
So we have a system that we use called MyRec, where, that's how all of our revenue comes in, and we can monitor our membership and all of the revenue that comes in, and then we use Munis
Okay,
to track our expense. So it's myself, and then we have, an admin person that does help us with
okay.
paying our bills and managing all of that.
So, and it's a good thing you work 24/7, so that allows,
Almost, but not quite yet.
oh, not quite, okay.
Cause they're having that 12-hour days thing that Anthony was talking about.
Thank you for the explanation. It's, trying to run an organization, run a department, run anything, takes a lot of coordination and there are a lot of cogs in the wheel, so to speak,
It's a
so,
great team, yes.
yeah.
Does this person report to you?
This position would be reporting into the recreation director, but it would be a shared position with the BD Center and overseeing the whole recreation department as a whole and all of the projects.
Where will they sit?
I currently have a space for our facilities coordinator. I can't speak to, we have space.
Yeah, figure it out, yeah.
It'd probably be based at BD, but float. Kind of like I'm based here, but I float all over town depending on,
Right,
part of that bigger problem that we
The
aren't.
job
all
itself
together.
requires being all over the place, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
okay, any other questions, comments? I don't see any, so we move on.
All right, so now we're back with lead swim coach. I know last time this had a lot of questions that unfortunately I could not answer. But we do have Will McClements here, who's our aquatics manager from BD. Of course, Jenny is here, and I think, were you speaking on this one, or were they speaking on it, or?
I didn't have a plan to
Okay,
speak on it.
maybe we'll have Will dive in and just tell us a little bit about the lead swim coach and why we're looking in. And Josh, I know you had a lot of questions and wonderings about things, but I understand you.
I did,
Jenny, and got
and, yeah,
some good
I can
information
just
on that,
For the
so.
record, say yes, Jenny and Will made time to speak with me,
Oh, good.
and answered my questions, and, I very much
Perfect.
appreciated that. It was helpful and clarifying.
Okay,
So,
great.
I can certainly repeat what my questions were, but I think it's better to just let them describe what they're looking for in this position and have other people ask questions.
All right, since one of you want to dive in.
So currently our otter swim team structure for our coaches, we have an assistant coach role and then a head coach role. The lead swim coach role is designed to fill that middle gap between what an assistant accomplishes and what a head coach accomplishes. The lead swim coach would be somebody that has prior experience coaching, or is more likely than not come from coaching with us and has demonstrated interest and leadership on the deck and with our team. This position is designed to bridge the gap between what an assistant is doing and the head coach's role. It's really a primary source to be able to retain talented assistant coaches and give them the opportunity to give more to the program. So that was the intent of the lead swim coach role, is to fill sort of that retention hole and that gap that we have between head coach and assistant coach. It's also going to be useful to recruit already experienced coaches that don't fit into our assistant slot, but also we can't have 7 head coaches because that's not how that job is designed to work. So this is sort of that fill-in where we've got a coach who's got experience, is able to write and run practices without a head coach on the deck or without myself on the deck, and is really driving forward the focus that we have on the Otters this season, which is really improving the quality of the program.
And this is one that I believe will be on the miscellaneous comp schedule.
That's correct.
Just one comment I had made when we spoke was, the suggestion that you add that prior coaching experience as a education experience requirement. It's not on there now, and it sounds like it's, it's very much intended to be a requirement for that role.
Yeah, and I think that's incredibly valid, and we definitely would like to add that into the job description.
Okay, we'll add that. When we're adding notary services on the other one, we'll add that one.
I'm curious a little as to how you staff the BD Center and, because typically it's a 40-hour a week, or, how do you organize a staff that probably, not too many people are around at 7 o'clock in the morning to 10, so it's.
With a lot of, really, really great team members. We do have a really big team in aquatics, is how we're able to operate the BD Center with the guards that we need as well as with the coaches. It's not this lead coach position would not by any means be a 40-hour a week. They're not expected to do any work outside of when they're coaching on the deck, which we run practices on weekdays from 5 to 7:30. And then on Sunday, we have a 9 a.m. practice, but then we also have that later 3 to 4:30 time slot. So it can't make it a 40-hour a week position, but as part of that, we want to make sure that the people who are committing their time and effort into this and coaches that we are bringing on have a clear path. As you mentioned, I believe earlier, about when you were talking with Anthony about wanting to promote from within, this is, I believe, a critical step in us being able to do that for our swim program with the Otters.
How many 40-hour or full-time employees are there at the BD Center?
7.
7. And last year there were 7, or have you increased in, I'm just,
We have not increased any of the full-time positions, and I mean, we're fully staffed with the full-time positions that we have right now.
so just for budgeting purposes, when do you make your presentation? And I guess I don't know to whom unless it's to
They do
somebody.
present to the select board, they present the enterprise fund budget.
Okay,
to
so the
select
finance
board.
committee is not have anything to do with this. because-
I don't think we present separate to the finance committee, I'm
Okay.
trying to
That's
remember.
right, I think we went last
We
year.
might have done something for FinCom,
Okay.
is Carlin still on? Okay, I see Lee nodding, yeah.
Of
Carolyn, you
course,
present
Carlin's still
enterprise
on,
to
yes.
FinCom and to select board,
Yes,
right?
Dee has an enterprise fund presentation, so we'll see her again.
Okay. So it's on that night. That was like the first thing. We were all brand spanking new. I think we've been here all like 4, 3, and 2 weeks when we had those presentations last year, so thanks, Carolyn.
Well, that's helpful. It sort of fills out the landscape in terms of how things are run and how things are organized.
I will say, we're always hiring. We do have such a large operation and we're open 113 hours a week. So 5:30 in the morning till 9 during the weekdays, that we do have a lot of part-time staff. And we are always looking to kind of fill our bench and hire and promote from within when we can. And yeah, it does take a lot of work, and we do really try to we're doing our best to build a strong team that enjoys working together. And
Well, I'm looking for an unpaid intern job, so maybe I should,
Senior work program.
but, you know, I don't have any skills.
We'll teach you how to.
I know,
do
well,
swim.
we'll-
Apply for a swimming position.
Do you know the ratio of coach to kid swimmer on the Otters team?
Yeah, so our goal is generally with the younger group is to have one coach for every 10 kids. With the older group, depending on what we're doing during practice, that can shift. So certainly for the 13 and up group, when we're doing really, really intense work, it's 1 to 6 is great because it's really quick, fast paces, and the coaches have to be able to give those kids the feedback immediately. But generally, we're looking at 1 to 12, 1 to 15 for the older group on a general day of practice.
And this lead swim coach position doesn't change the ratio, right? It's a
Correct.
likely an existing coach within the current coaching
Exactly.
ranks that will fill this role.
And a part of sticking to the enterprise budget, and a piece of that staffing appropriately for the program is also a piece, so we don't want to have 20 coaches on the deck for 30 kids, so it can be kind of dynamic depending on what we have going on with how many coaches we have coming in or showing up.
So I have one last question for Jen, right?
Jenny.
Jenny. Is if there was one thing that you could have, whether it was hardware, software, or human, what would that one thing be? What that one resource be that would make you even more successful than you are now?
I mean, I don't know if I can answer in this 1 second, but, I would say an additional staff would help. I would also say, just having more efficient systems in place, which I think we're starting to put in place to just streamline things that sometimes take a long time on a day-to-day basis.
So infrastructure, is that another way of saying it, or is that?
I would say that honestly, I still feel like I'm figuring out the finances. I mean, I have a great understanding of how the revenue comes in. I feel like getting more information on our expenses and in a more of a timely way would be helpful for me to do a better job as an operator.
Well, I apologize for asking the question. I guess I didn't mean to put you, I
That's
mean,
okay.
make it uncomfortable for you.
Oh, no, it's totally fine.
It's the kind of questions that I think we all have to sort of ask ourselves
Yeah.
all the time.
Mhm.
And when I worked, it was a common question that the CEO asked me. Not every day, but, you know, it was sort of okay, you know,
Yeah.
what do I need? What don't I have?
Yeah,
Because everything, if you don't think about it, if you don't have a goal in mind, everything stays sort of pretty much the same, and I don't think that works anymore.
yeah. I think we're unique as an enterprise fund from, you know, the town, so I think it could just be a little bit more challenging
Mhm.
for us in that sense, that it's not really apples to apples with everything we
Right.
do.
Thank you.
You should.
Okay, are we at a point where we wanna,
Yep, those are the 4 we had that
Okay.
required your vote, so.
before we vote, Liz, do you have any other questions you might wanna
No,
Yes.
no, I'm all set. Thank you. That was a good discussion on the last position and great questions from you, Bill. And also thank you to Josh. I am not a detailed person, but you picked up on things that would have brought these positions back to us in the near future. And now we won't see them again and they'll be able to move forward. So thanks, Josh.
Yeah.
That's why we pay the big bucks, right?
Yeah. I was gonna give Josh a sticker, but I forgot. to. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion for all these 4 positions.
Happy to move. Do I need to itemize or just?
I think so.
Okay.
Just to,
I move that we approve the proposed new job descriptions and classifications for Assistant Chief Financial Officer, Election and Census Manager, Recreation Operations Manager, and Lead Swim Coach.
all right, is there a second?
There's a second with the caveat that the changes to 2 of those positions will be added in that
Yes.
Jess already got.
Yep.
Yes, I
that's
second.
Thank you, Pat. And all in favor, Liz, Cobbs,
I,
and Josh?
Yes.
And Bill, yes. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you. And then just to brief you, on some updates we did, I'm gonna lump the first one and the third one together because it all ties into the one you just approved for election and census manager. But again, we did, shift some duties around, to make it more logical based on both the work that's needed in the town clerk's office coupled with, the skills and talent of the individuals that we have currently in the clerk's office. So we did make some of those revisions to assistant town clerk and the senior administrative specialist in the town clerk's office. So those edits were done and are in there. I don't know if anybody had any specific questions on any of those. I'm scrolling now to those. So assistant town clerk, we referenced, added in referencing, board and committee administration, developing procedures and trainings. Statistical analysis, data, budget work, lot of committee stuff, and then supervising and overseeing the vital records, which if you look at the description for the senior administrative specialist now, that is going to be taking on more of that work with the vital records and some changes there. So again, just kind of using the talent we have and the positions that we have and just kind of reorging in terms of the types of positions we needed, who's going to do more work will definitely make things a lot more efficient for Kari. So that's what those 2 are. And then the other one is, again, back to our friends here at the BD Center. It's the aquatic supervisor. There's already an existing role. This in theory is, I believe, combining elements of the existing aquatic supervisor with another position that actually went unfilled, I think a year or 2 ago, roughly last year or so. Yeah, it was before I got here. And essentially we have just a general category of aquatic supervisor. So the hope is to get somebody in that will help and be focused on programming for swim programs, as well as kind of the safety components, lifeguard training, things that the other supervisor does. And we've just made edits to that job description to reflect that it's more flexible and encompassing if we want to add in those others, which I think we do want to ultimately add in that new FTE, but again, it's enterprise funded, so no effect on the general fund.
Okay,
Any questions for clerks or our BD funds on any of those, or for me?
I'm interested in the assistant town clerk. There's a mention of being responsible for corresponding with foreign governments, and I thought that quite impressive. Is there any anticipated global negotiations that Concord is going to be fielding under the new administration, or how did that get added?
This is overseas voters, but I'm definitely gonna let Kari take this one.
So yeah, so as far as the, let me see, where is that? So I have the context right in front of me.
So it's
Oh, yes, so.
at the bottom of
so-
page 2.
Yes, so unlike notarizations, when we have voters or residents who come in who have retired from work in foreign governments, we have to verify that they're still alive. in the US or in Massachusetts, it's the teachers have to do that. Once they've retired, they have to bring in a form and have it signed by the town clerk or the assistant town clerk in witness of their still being alive, so they continue to receive their pension.
I see.
Yes.
I see. Okay, and teachers, foreign teachers?
No, it's actually in Massachusetts, teachers that it's not foreign, that's local, where they will have pension forms that need to be signed as well.
Okay, so Kari, I think then that bullet should be rewritten a little bit.
Okay.
So it looks like it's domestic and foreign governments, right? And it's not, it's for verifies and certifies residency for domestic something else. And also, you know, it certifies residency and it's foreign representatives or retired representatives of foreign governments
For
or
foreign
something.
agencies, would foreign agencies work better?
Well, an agency would not be necessarily of government. So they could be for non-governmental
Right.
organization or nonprofit or you know, like something like that. So I'm not quite sure how to do it, but I think from your description there, I was really just kidding around, but I see that there's actual merit in clarifying that, because it's a real, I had no idea that you were also doing that in the town clerk's office. But I do think that that's, you know, that's certainly worthy of its own bullet, and just to make it as clear as possible that, you know, verifying and certifying residency for domestic union employees, is that what it is? Because it's teachers, is it because they're with a union?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
And if it's only teachers, that could be it. And if it's only teachers, then you might say
Right.
teachers. And then separate it with, not with just the and, because it looks like it's domestic governments and foreign governments, so it's written now.
Okay.
Is this a job description we can defer till next meeting, or does this have to be voted on tonight?
This one actually doesn't require your vote, it's just simply briefing you
Oh,
on
okay.
updates we made,
Okay.
because there's no change in classification.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just informing you that we've done a shuffle, so certainly, you know, we can tweak that bullet to our heart's content and get it in the right way and make sure it's reflective of what we're trying to say. And
Well, I think it's a part of, I may be wrong, you know, Josh and Liz can, but I think it's a part of our oversight responsibilities is to question, just like
oh,
this
absolutely,
happened, and just to try to fine tune this.
no, absolutely.
That has another, you know, 4, 6 pair of eyes that sometimes is unbelievably helpful to.
No, we want it to be right, so that's fine, but I guess the long answer to your question is it's not holding anything up, and
Okay.
there's no vote required, but we can certainly, like I said, get that bullet fine tuned and plug that in
You
there.
know, I'd suggest let's just add it to the agenda, I mean, next time, so that we can see what the
Yeah.
changes. It
Sure.
doesn't sound like it's gonna be a very
No,
lengthy process.
Thanks for asking the question.
it's amazing what the clerk's office
That's
does.
totally.
Way more than just voting and dog licenses, yeah.
Oh, no.
All right, and any other last questions about anything, for Beatty on the aquatic supervisor, or are we good?
Very good. I think we're set.
Excellent, all right. Staff, run while you have the chance, right?
Thank you for,
everybody, thank you, staff.
investing,
Very much.
investing your time. It was really,
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Be careful traveling.
Thank
too.
you.
It's like it's getting cold and slippery out there.
really.
Oh, it just seems cold.
It was a pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you. Nice to meet you in person.
Bye, thank you.
I'll make certain my limo driver is.
Yeah,
You're living for.
down there.
I did. I
Thank
did,
you.
thank you. Yeah, it's sitting right on 32. Look at that.
Okay, so I guess we can move to, item 5 on the agenda.
Everybody's favorite topic.
I just wonder if Liz, you can, Josh, you know, since we don't have a full, board present, we've always tried, I think, especially with something like this, to ensure that there's a formal vote that is recorded that's from everybody on the personnel board. So this does not require any, I don't think there's any action gonna take place until sometime Mark gets back to us with, when is this gonna be on the select board agenda?
And I haven't heard, I thought it was going sometime this month, but then I
Yeah,
think at
that's-
our last meeting, Mark or somebody had shared that, yeah, it's getting pushed to
It's
January.
getting,
And I
yeah,
see Mark has dropped off now too, so he must have had to bounce to probably another meeting, because it's almost 7.
so
Oh, it's the
my-
housing roundtable, I bet she's at the housing roundtable.
yeah, right. So my suggestion is let's defer this till, the next meeting unless.
Yeah, sure. I think that's
This
fine.
poor charge, I think it's gonna get a record for how many times it's on an agenda.
I mean, I think we have a consensus of comfort with it, so there's, yeah.
And we also spoke with Mark, Liz and I did a couple days ago, in which he did acknowledge that he was gonna circulate this to the select board members for comment.
Okay,
So in some ways, if there happens to be any significant items to modify or to add, delete, whatever, then, you know, we could actually do that.
might be good to do that before you then vote it, so. If it's already being
Well,
You're saying he's circulating it now before?
he's circulating
Okay.
what we have now,
Gotcha.
which has not been, when we were sort of doing that, looking for some feedback. So then we could make whatever changes that would be necessary for our presentation to the select board. I think they said that, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
So just if I could add just one quick comment, and that is honestly, just to reiterate what you said, I think there is consensus that it's in a good spot. It goes along with the policies and procedures, and that's noted. And it would change somewhat each year as you look at those objectives that we've stated in the charter. So I think we're in very good shape. We also learned from Mark that there's really no need for the vote on the charge, right, from the select board. Because we, as a committee, we are delegated to be a committee through the town meeting. Nonetheless, you know, we want to be informing the select board and so forth. So, you know, this really is more administrative at this point, since we've already had robust discussion and agreement on where this stands and how it'll fit with the bylaw, the charter, and then, or the charge, and then the policies and procedures. So, yeah, I do think we need stickers next time, just to say the charge has been on this agenda all year long. And now we can put it to rest in January.
Right. All right. I want to just make a note for the minutes that I'd like to be able to add into the agenda next time, that we have an opportunity to discuss the merit pay, when the merit pay is based on the current salaries or based on the new salaries. And I think it's this was something that Mark had encouraged us to have. Again, it's not our decision, but I think it would be a good opportunity to sort of provide what are the pros and the cons that we can provide the feedback to Mark and so forth. Any other business to come before the personnel board?
Yeah, I think we're in good shape for this month. I always feel like we're gonna have a light meeting, and then we get a lot of, there's just so much happening,
Yeah.
so it's not a bad thing,
There's
but.
no way to predict when you look at the
Yeah.
agenda.
It's
Well, we
like,
have people like Liz and Josh, who just go right in and they find things that need to be explained.
Yeah, but I mean, it's good. I mean,
It
especially
is.
I think with a lot of our departments,
It's
we've
good.
got, you know, some new folks on, and they're just kind of looking at their divisions and figuring out how to, you know, best organize them, and yeah, it's good. It's all good stuff.
I think the only other thing I can add from our discussion with Mark is that and this is actually based on experience that I have had, is that, you know, there is a role for the personnel board. We believe in terms of the strategic sense of what an organization, what a town organization might need, might review. And, you know, it seems to me that, even perhaps in the budgeting cycle, it's gonna be coming up here that, you know, the finance committee might be interested in, you know, sort of our impressions of some positions that are being proposed. And, you know, that we can be, I believe, a sounding board. Now, whether we want to do that or not, we, as a full complement of board members should make that decision, but I think there is a more of a role that is there and open for us, if that's what we want to do. Well, thank you all. I'm gonna entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn at 6:58 PM.
Wow, thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, so in favor, Liz,
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
And Bill, yes.